What's up? What's up? What's up? This is Cotton coming at you with another game called Lamplighter. It is a visual novel. If you go to settings and change the text, message speed, auto speed, skip mode, you can get all the trophies in 5 minutes or less. We're going to do the long way. Not sure how exactly long it takes, but basically, I don't think it matters what option you pick. This game has a couple options you can choose from. My first playthrough on my other account, I picked the top option and still got the platinum. So, yep, that's probably what I'll do. Just pick the top option on every one and get all the trophies. Let's get started to see how it goes.
I stand over grave, no flowers, no cross, only a fresh, newly dug pit and the earth straight-edged, as if cut with a ruler. It's empty, nothing inside, nothing but a single photograph, stuck directly into the soil, staring right at me. Dampness and cold rise from the pit, as still the earth still remembers the touch of a metal shovel. My soles lie over the moist blue soil, and it feels like one careless step would send me tumbling straight into the pit. The photo is spotless, without a single scratch, as if someone had just placed it there. The eyes in the picture gaze directly at me, the face so clear that every detail is visible, and those eyes they look straight into my soul. Silence reigns all around, heavy, suffocating silence. Only the sound of the rain above my head, running its fingers through my hair, making the flowers on nearby graves sway. That whispering makes the chill in my chest even sharper. My body is seized with fear of seeing the very thing I dread the most. I want to scream, to call out for someone, to save myself from that piercing gaze, but there's a lump in my throat. No matter how hard I try, not a single sound escapes me. I can't form a single word. And then, from the very bottom of the pit, a warm beam of light rises, like from an old lantern. I feel as if I must go toward it. But my body resists, my hands tremble and sweat, my heart pounds like mad. A wild pain throbs in my temples, as if beating out some kind of rhythm. I hesitate for a long moment, but at last I move toward the light. My steps are slow and cautious. My gaze drops frivolously into the pit. That damn dream again, I sighed as I spoke. I sat on the bed, leaned my elbows on my knees, and covered my face with my palms. My life will probably never be the same again, I muttered under my breath. Once, everything was different. I used to sleep so well, but now I suffer every night because of that cursed dream. I don't know how to start living anew, how to peel away the sticky feeling of guilt. Every single day, I torment myself over that day. I picked up the photo of me and my late sister. In it, we looked so happy, but one day changed everything. I look at the picture, studying the features of her face. I try to remember how beautiful, sincere, and kind she was. She was my support, my anchor. We never fought, never hurt each other, never raised our voices. We understood one another with half a word, even a single glance. Her laughter was always light and warm, like a spring morning. Whenever I felt down, she hugged me and smiled, and suddenly everything felt brighter. I often think if only I had acted differently that day, if I had held myself back, if I hadn't yelled at her but understood her instead, if only I had listened, maybe things would have turned out differently. Every day I recall that argument, the one that drove you to run out and that damn motorcycle hit you. I never wanted that. I swear to you, I never wanted this, I whispered, running my fingers across her face in the photo. I was only worried about you. You were just 19, so young, so naive, with an open heart. Well, the world was so cruel. That man, he was so much older than you. He could have hurt you, shattered your trust, shattered you. I couldn't allow it. You didn't come home that evening. The hours dragged like eternity as I paced the room, listening to every rustle outside, hoping it might be you. My mind was filled with the worst, the most terrible scenarios that night. Only at dawn did you come back home. I was so angry, so exhausted. The despair and fear pushed me over the edge, and that's why I screamed at you so harshly. That's why I said those horrible words. If only I had known it would end like this, I whispered, and tears fell. It was already 5:55 a.m. In 5 minutes the alarm would ring, and once again, I hadn't slept, with a long workday ahead of me. I don't know how much longer I can endure this, how long this nightmare will keep haunting me. I went to the bathroom, took a cold shower to at least feel a little clearer. I brewed a very strong coffee. Coffee has become my savior throughout the day. I've never in my life drunk so much of it as I do now. I set off along the path I had walked countless times before, one I could follow even with my eyes closed. This road had become my salvation, just like the job I was heading to. Only there could I shift my thoughts and return, at least a little, to reality, forgetting the terrible tragedy that had changed my life. On both sides of the road, the street impulse glowed faintly, casting a soft, warm, barely perceptible light. In the evening, it looked especially enchanting. There, at the far end of the street, tucked into a corner, stood a lamp still lit by hand. It was a landmark of our town. On the horizon, I could already see the lights of the cafe where I worked, and I worked at the best cafe in town. It was always full of people, with not even a minute to rest, which is exactly why I loved working there. As soon as I opened the door and crossed the threshold, I was greeted by the sound of the coffee machine, the clinking of spoons against cups, and the aroma of freshly ground coffee and pastries filling the room. People came and went, each carrying their own moods, worries. Every time I walked into the cafe, I put on a mask. Day after day, I smiled at customers, joked with colleagues, and pretended everything was fine. And sometimes I almost believed it myself. "Hello, everyone," I said as I approached my workstation. My colleagues were wonderful people. Each of them knew what lay behind my mask of joy and happiness, but they all pretended I was fine. "Hey, how's the mood? I've got a feeling we'll be packed today," he said. "That would be great," I answered with a smile and got to work. The bustle made it easier to push away heavy thoughts and immerse myself completely in work. Every customer, every order, every phone call distracted me like a stream of new emotions, each different from the last. The cafe door opened, and there stood our regular, Max. Every time, he ordered an Americano with milk and cinnamon and sat at the table by the window. So before he even reached the counter, I had already started making his coffee. "Hi, you look wonderful," he said with a smile as he approached the counter. "Hi, Max, you always make me blush," I replied with a smile. "By the way, how was your date?" I asked curiously. "It went perfectly. I was worried for nothing," he laughed. "I'm glad it turned out just the way you wanted." "We're going out again tonight," he said, taking his coffee and heading to the table by the window. Even regular customers brought something new each time, a different mood, new stories, worries, and emotions. Outside, night was falling. My workday had passed quickly and busily and was coming to an end. I removed my apron, tossed it on a chair, swept the room with my eyes to make sure I hadn't forgotten anything, slung my bag over my shoulder, and headed for the exit. "Easy shift, Jack," I said to my coworker, who worked the evening shift. "Thanks, have a nice evening," he replied warmly. I closed the door behind me and headed home. The street was already lit by the lamps, and for the first time in a long while since I had walked this road, I saw the lamplighter himself, kindling the flame in the old lantern. It looked so magical, as if the night's light depended solely on his actions. I couldn't help but stop and watch the enchanting sight. The lamplighter was an old man, round 70, wearing a worn dark hat that cast a shadow over his wrinkled face. He was dressed in a long black coat, or perhaps it was a cloak, with a brightly striped shabby scarf wrapped loosely around his neck. In his hands he held a long pole with a hook and a small flame at the tip, which he raised to the lantern. A moment later, the dim spark trembling in his hand came alive inside the lamp, spilling warm light across the cobblestones. I watched, breathless, feeling as if this man carried an entire era within him, one that time had tried to erase, but still could not. I stood frozen, captivated by the man's movements, and didn't notice when he shifted his gaze from the lantern to me. Suddenly, I grew self-conscious, flustered, as if I had intruded upon his peace and private space. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you," I murmured, lowering my head awkwardly. "You're not disturbing me. Don't worry, come closer," he added with a smile. "I walk this road every day, but it's the first time I've seen you here. That's why I was so moved by your work," I said as I slowly stepped toward him. "Yes, it is indeed a fascinating process." "This might be an odd question, sorry, but why do you do it by hand?" "Haven't you ever heard of this lantern?" he asked in surprise. "Back in school, they told us it was a landmark of our town." The lamplighter fell silent, looked at me, then raised his head toward the lamp before turning back to me again, and he said, "Do you truly believe it's ordinary? If it were, it would have been replaced long ago," he said with a mysterious smile. I smiled back more out of politeness than sincerity. I nodded and said, "Good night," before quickly leaving the place. That lamplighter struck me as far too strange. He even frightened me a little. Who knows what goes on in his mind? Maybe he's some kind of madman. And just as I had taken a few steps away, I heard him call out after me. Those who are gone can be felt nearby in the silence of the night, under the lantern's light, but only in the moment when everything stands still. At these words, a chill ran down my spine. "Definitely some kind of maniac," I muttered under my breath. I didn't even turn my head, deciding to pretend I hadn't heard anything, though I did start walking much faster. I had never gotten home this quickly before. As soon as I entered my room, I collapsed onto the bed. My heart was pounding so fast and so loudly, it felt as if the neighbors could hear it too. My legs trembled from exhaustion and tension. I just wanted to close my eyes and forget everything, but the thought stubbornly refused to let me go. The imaginary glow of the lantern still flickered before my eyes. The figure of the lamplighter wouldn't leave my mind, and his last words seemed etched into my memory. "Those who are gone can be felt nearby in the silence of the night." Under the lantern's light, but only in the moment when everything stands still. "What did he mean when he said that?" I whispered. I tossed and turned, trying to fall asleep, covering myself with the blanket, then throwing it off again. I tried to stop my thoughts, tried not to think at all, but it was all in vain. The figure of the lamplighter and his words kept spinning in my head. In the end, I abruptly sat up from the bed and went to the computer. I opened the search engine, the screen glowing with cold light. The mouse cursor blinked on the screen as if waiting for my fingers to touch the keyboard, and finally typed my question. I pulled the keyboard closer and began typing, "The Last Old Lantern 213 Lantern Saint, Salem, Massachusetts." I clicked the first link that came up. The article said this lantern was originally installed back in 1801 near the old cemetery. Local legends claim that sometimes it would light up for no reason, and then one could see a man in a long dark cloak and hat, holding a pole. A shiver ran down my spine. I scrolled down a little further and kept reading. Later, the lantern was moved to 1234 Maple Street, Springfield, Massachusetts, and was declared a local landmark. This is all kind of strange, I muttered under my breath. I returned to the main page, scrolled down a bit more, and noticed a link to a strange blog article that had been abandoned several years ago. It was titled, "The Old Lantern with Ghosts, Truth or Myth?" At first, it talked about the history of the town and how the lantern had been moved to another location supposedly to preserve it as a city landmark. But at the bottom of the article, there was mention of a strange legend, saying that under this lantern one could supposedly meet the dead. As if its light opened a narrow crack between worlds, and souls briefly returned to where they once lived. At the end of the article, there were about a dozen comments, and I began reading them one by one, scrolling down with the mouse wheel. Just another scary tale for the newcomers to our town. But I believe it. There's always a grain of truth in every legend. Nothing left to write about, so now they're making up lanterns. My grandmother told me she saw her husband there. He died at sea, but that night he stood under the lantern's light, looking at her. She got scared and ran away. Later she went back there again, but she never saw him anymore. The comments were mixed. Some believed it was real, others mocked it and called it nonsense. Each comment pierced my heart like an arrow, but I kept reading. Maybe there are still those here who believe in Casper. I was once told you need to come there exactly at midnight. If you truly want to see a deceased loved one, it will definitely happen. I never checked, but I believe in it all. Has anyone here actually seen ghosts there? My heart began beating faster and faster with each comment I read. Even though I don't believe in such nonsense, the hope of seeing my sister again warmed my heart and gave me faith that not everything was lost. The clock already showed 1:23 and madame. I had work in the morning again and I hadn't closed my eyes even once. I need to go to sleep, I muttered under my breath. I pressed the power button on the computer, sitting and staring at the screen until it finally went completely dark. I barely made it to the bed before my tired body touched it, and my eyes slowly closed on their own as sleep enveloped me. Alarm clock ringing sound. Why is this happening to me? I sighed, turning off the alarm on my phone. It felt as if I hadn't even fallen asleep when I already had to wake up again, and right now, the bed it was so warm and comfortable, and no matter what position I took, it was perfect. I threw off the blanket and abruptly sat up. I need to go to work, I muttered under my breath. I quickly took a shower to freshen up, put on the first clothes I could grab, grabbed my bag, and rushed out of the apartment. I walked the same road as always. The air outside was fresh, as it was every morning. But while this road used to calm me, now I no longer felt my usual peace. What I felt, what was stirring inside me, was something different, something unsettling. The morning rain made the trees along the road tremble. There were still almost no people, but those I did pass hurried on, lost in their own concerns. With each step, I felt a strange anticipation, as if something important was about to happen to me. But not yet, not now. On the horizon, I could already see that very lantern, the one that had kept me awake most of the night. And the closer I got, the more furiously my heart pounded in my chest, as if wound up like a clockwork toy. I stopped, lifted my head, and stared at the lantern, as if I expected it to speak to me, but it remained silent. Each breath I took felt heavier, and my heart was still racing madly, refusing to calm down. I stared at the lantern, recalling every article I had read that night, every comment people had written about it. Are you really what they say you are? I muttered under my breath. I felt my fingers clench into fists on their own, unbearable tension swelling inside me. I wanted to scream, to break down in hysteria, anything to throw off the weight crushing my soul. It's so important to know where the truth ends and the lies begin. Work right, I'm late, I whispered, then ran off toward work. Today more than ever, I don't want to work. I have only one wish: that evening would come as quickly as possible so I could return to the lantern. Every hour dragged unbearably slowly, and time itself seemed to mock me, refusing to speed up. I wasn't focused at all. Sometimes I'd accidentally make a cappuccino instead of a latte. Other times, I'd zone out and not even hear when customers spoke to me. "Diana, are you okay?" he asked worriedly, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Oh, sorry, I was just lost in thought," I replied, startled. "That's not like you at all. Maybe you should rest?" "No, really, I'm fine. Don't worry." "Are you sure?" "Absolutely," I answered with a smile. Finally, my shift ended, and I could leave. For the first time, my job felt like torture, something I desperately wanted to escape. "Have a good shift, Max. Bye." "Maybe take a day off? You weren't yourself today." "I'll rest today. Tomorrow I'll be back on track," I said, laughing. "Alright, call me if anything. I'll cover for you, know that." "Thank you. Of course, I know. Thanks for caring. Bye." "Bye." On the way, my thoughts were all about the lantern. What could possibly be so unusual about it? When it came closer, I stopped and decided to examine it from every angle. I looked carefully at every detail. A metal pole, nothing special. "No buttons, no symbols, nothing," I muttered under my breath. The lantern glowed with warm, dim light, attracting moths and other small winged insects. "So, where's your magic?" I whispered. The street was almost empty, which unsettled me, though I tried not to show it. The wind gently swayed the branches of the trees, scattering their shadows across the pavement. Somewhere far away, stray dogs barked, and there I was, a grown woman standing before a lantern, waiting for some kind of magic. "This is ridiculous," I exclaimed nervously. For a moment, I even doubted my own sanity. It was 11:57 p.m. I was standing alone on a dimly lit street, clinging to hope. I looked around. All the lanterns shone the same. Yet this one, the one before me, still felt different. Or maybe I just wanted it to. Suddenly, the lamp flickered for a split second. I jumped, my heart pounding as if I had witnessed something supernatural. My hands clenched into fists to stop the trembling, but it didn't help much. My knees shook with fear. "Is it starting?" I whispered, my voice trembling. I stared intently at the light the lantern cast, waiting, hoping for some kind of sign. "What am I supposed to do now?" I muttered. It felt like I had been standing there for an eternity, but nothing happened, and then frustration hit me. My heart was still racing, my hands shaking slightly, but at the same time, I felt like I had been made a fool of. How could I fall for these tales? "Enough, it's just an ordinary, old pathetic lamp," I shouted angrily, turned quickly, and walked away without looking back. I lay down on my bed, pulled the warm blanket over me, hugged my favorite stuffed toy. I closed my eyes and felt my eyelids grow heavy with fatigue. My heart, which had been racing wildly, began to slow, and my thoughts melted into the comforting silence of my room. In the morning, when I woke up, I realized I had no desire whatsoever to go to work. Just the thought of it made me feel sick. My head was heavy, my body felt like it was filled with stones, and the idea of the cafe, the noise, the rush, the customers only drained me further. I lay under the blanket up to my chin, staring at the ceiling without blinking, trying to gather the strength to get out of bed. "No, I can't," I sighed, pulling the blanket over my head. Eventually, I reached for my phone. Yesterday, Jack had threatened to cover my shift and let me rest. "Well, you asked for it," I muttered, scrolling through my phone book. Telephone ringing. "Hello?" "Hi." Hey, what happened? Yes, do you remember yesterday you promised to cover my shift? I said sleepily. I did, he chuckled. I'm really so exhausted I can't even get out of bed. I'm afraid I won't make it through the shift. I'll take your place at work, but there's one condition. Here we go, I laughed. Promise you'll actually rest. I will, I told you. I don't even have the strength to get up. Then rest. Thank you, Jack. You're a true friend. Bye, was the last thing Meg said before hanging up. I rolled onto my side and slipped the phone under my pillow. I wrapped myself in the blanket and didn't even realize when I fell asleep. For the first time in a long while, I slept so sweetly and for so long. No anxious dreams, no sudden awakenings from random noises, only deep sleep that nothing could disturb. It felt as if the world around me dissolved and stood still, my body finally letting go of the exhaustion it had carried for months. I woke up to the sun's rays tickling my face, and in that moment I felt an unfamiliar lightness. The quiet and coziness around me felt as though life itself had given me a pause. I stretched, inhaled deeply, and realized that today would be different. Getting out of bed, I went to the kitchen, brewed myself some fragrant coffee, took a slice of cake from the fridge, sat at the table, and ate it with unexpected pleasure, even though sweets were never really my weakness. I looked out the window. People had long started their day. The city was alive. Everyone rushing about their business, cars passing one after another, and here I was, only just beginning my day. It was a strange but pleasant feeling, as if I stood aside in my own little world, free from exhaustion and obligations. But somewhere deep inside, a faint anxiety remained a premonition, as if something was about to happen, as if this day had more than just quiet noon and tasty coffee. I slept so well I can't even remember what day it is today, I muttered to myself. I reached for my phone, opened the calendar, and froze. Tomorrow is my sister's birthday. Kira, my heart clenched with the sudden realization that I had completely forgotten. How can you forget something like this? I whispered, staring at the screen. I lowered the phone onto my lap and for a few minutes just looked out the window, feeling the joy of the day being swallowed by bitter memories of the past. I saw her laughter, her hugs, those small everyday moments that once seemed so trivial but now were priceless. I'd give anything just to have you scatter crumbs in my bed again. Tomorrow work awaits me. I'll be busy all day. I need to go to her grave today, to visit, to bring flowers, to sit beside her and tell her about everything that's been happening in my life lately. I quickly got up from the chair and began to get ready, as if afraid of being late. I stepped inside. The shop was spacious and bright. In every corner there were bouquets, from modest ones to lavish, expensive arrangements. Behind the glass stood flowers of all kinds, from chrysanthemums to tall roses. There were even plush toys, a giant gray teddy bear taking up nearly half a shelf, along with small angels, bears, and countless other little stuffed toys. This shop felt more like a gift store than one near a cemetery. A strange feeling stirred inside me, as if I hadn't come to a place where people buy flowers to mourn or say goodbye, but somewhere people prepare for an important event or celebration, and it threw me off for a moment. Maybe that's even better, because for her too, I want to bring something bright, something that reminds me. I walked up to the counter where the shop assistant already stood, a young woman with a kind smile. Good afternoon. Shop assistant, good afternoon. May I help you choose something? Yes, I need a bouquet of pink roses. Shop assistant, of course. We have long-stemmed and bush roses. Could I please have 10 stems of bush roses? The shop assistant paused for a moment. She realized the flowers weren't for a celebration. A flicker of sympathy passed through her eyes, though her smile remained just as warm. Shop assistant 10, right? she clarified. I only nodded, afraid that if I said even a word I'd burst into tears. In that moment, the shop fell into a heavy silence, as if everything around us was grieving along with me. Shop assistant, would you like a ribbon or wrapping paper? A ribbon, please. Shop assistant Black, she asked hesitantly. No, something else, please. I looked at the roses and thought of how Kira once loved them, especially the soft pink ones, not bright but gentle just like her. The shop assistant tied the bouquet with a light ribbon, added a few green sprigs for softness, and handed it to me. Shop assistant, they look very special. I think she would have loved them. I lifted my eyes and smiled faintly, though inside everything was clenched with pain. Thank you, can't imagine how much you love these flowers, thank you. I stepped out of the shop and looked toward the cemetery. For a few minutes, I stood there holding the bouquet in my hands, as if gathering the strength to continue my path. Then I took a deep breath and walked on. I knelt by her grave, laid the bouquet beside her picture, and traced a finger over the photo. Her smile frozen in stone, and her eyes, it felt like they were staring straight at me, right into my heart. Hi sis, I'm sorry I come so rarely. I even forgot tomorrow's your day. Can you imagine? I forgot, but today, I'm here with you. Tears rolled down my cheeks, and I didn't even try to stop them. I sat cross-legged and spoke softly, as if she were sitting right next to me. I told her about work, about the sleepless nights, about the coffee I finally learned to make perfectly, about my fears and the unbearable emptiness that always lives with me. Don't laugh at me, I said, wiping my tears. But I almost believed in a lamppost that could let me see you again. Can you imagine? I laughed through the tears. The wind gently stirred the tree branches above her grave, and for a moment it felt like her reply. I closed my eyes, trying to imagine her beside me, right here, right now. I miss you so much, I cried out, almost at full voice. The sun was already dipping lower. I touched the cold stone with my fingers, and for a second I believed there was no distance between us, that she was close, about to hug me again. I'll come back, I promise, and I won't forget your day again, I said firmly, as if making a vow. I stood up, brushed the dirt off my knees, and looked once more at the pink roses by her photo. They seemed as if they had been grown just for her, tender yet proud at the same time. The wind touched the branches again, and smiling through tears, I walked away along the path, knowing that today I left her not only flowers but also a piece of my heart. I decided to walk home along the street near the old lamppost. I don't know why, but I felt irresistibly drawn to it. Maybe it was the hope that it really worked, that it could become a bridge for me to meet you, or maybe for some other reason. I don't know. The sky had grown heavy with black clouds. It felt like they were about to tear open and pour a cold, endless rain. It's going to rain, I muttered. And soon, I was already near that lamppost. I stepped closer and stopped. The first drops touched my cheeks, mixing with the salty tears running down them. Show me what you can do. Don't tear my soul apart, I cried out, staring at the lamppost. At that very moment, thunder split the sky and rain poured down in sheets, forcing me to run home. When I reached my building, my heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Shivering from the cold and from nerves, I leaned against the wall in the stairwell trying to catch my breath. One thought echoed in my head: what if it's not a coincidence I found out about this lamppost? These stupid thoughts again, I whispered, steadying myself on the wall and slowly climbing the stairs to my apartment. I opened the door, tossed my bag on the floor, and sat down next to it, leaning against the door. I didn't want to undress or turn on the light. I just sat in the darkness, listening to the heavy raindrops hammering against the windows, losing all sense of time. I don't know how long I sat there, but I had no desire to get up. I reached for my phone at 11:01 p.m. thoughts of the lamppost wouldn't leave me. I just kept thinking about it and nothing else. That lamppost, our last chance, I whispered, feeling my heartbeat quicken. I got up, stripped off the wet clothes and changed, found an old umbrella, put on a jacket, quietly closed the door and went back to the lamppost. My hands trembled, but I knew if I didn't do this now, I'd torture myself forever for not taking the chance. Maybe the last one. When I stepped outside, the damp, cool air hit me. The rain had nearly stopped, only a light drizzle remained. No point bringing the umbrella, I muttered, looking at the sky. The city was asleep, most windows dark, the street nearly deserted, only me and the endless row of lampposts, with one waiting for me. I walked quickly, glancing nervously at the time. I was afraid of missing it. Midnight wasn't far. If only I could meet the lamplighter again. He surely knows what to say, what to do under the lamppost. And there it was ahead of me, the light flickering, trembling, as if alive, as if it knew I was coming, and maybe even knew why. I slowed my steps, frozen like a statue a few meters away. I stared into the light, trying to see someone or something in it. My chest tightened, my heart pounding like mad. My hands trembled. It even felt like I was losing my voice. What if I really meet her? What should I say? I whispered, staring at the lamppost's glow. I solidly begged the universe for mercy, for the lamplighter to appear again. This time, I wouldn't run. I'd want to know everything. Who he is, why he shows up here. Maybe he isn't even alive and I'm the only one who sees him. My thoughts tangled, becoming an endless storm of questions. I gathered all my strength and decided to step closer, not just watch from afar. Those 10 steps toward the lamppost felt like walking dozens of kilometers. My hands shook, fingers clenching the edge of my jacket. I begged silently, deep inside, that everything I believed about this lamppost wasn't just fantasy. Why am I so sure? Why do I feel so strongly that you can do more than just light the street? I whispered, staring into the lamppost's glow as if it could hear me. And then, in an instant, the entire street plunged into darkness. Every lamppost went out at once. This one too, and with it, it felt like the whole world went dark. I didn't even have time to scream or feel fear because in the very next moment it blazed back to life so brightly I had to shield my eyes with my hand. Blinding light spread around me, alive, unreal, as if someone wanted to frighten me. Is someone here? I whispered, lowering my trembling hands from my face. And then, through the radiant tunnel of light, I began to see someone or something. Lamplighter, is that you? But no one answered. I took a few slow steps back. There was no point in running. I had come this far. Whatever happens, I won't leave without answers. And suddenly, within the blinding warm light of the lamppost, I began to see the silhouette of my sister. I froze, not trusting my own eyes, afraid to even blink lest the vision vanish. The shape grew clearer, more real. Her face emerged from the glow, but it wasn't quite as I remembered. It looked older, her gaze far too mature, as though she had lived through so much, not the eyes of a 19-year-old girl, but of a woman who had already seen too much. She looked straight at me, without a smile, without joy, and I felt fear stir within the joy. Pain and hope tangled in my chest, my heart pounding so hard it echoed in my ears. No, this can't be real, I whispered, my voice trembling. Kira, is it you? I came here for you. Say something, anything, I begged, staring into my sister's eyes. And then her lips curved into a smile, the same gentle, kind, loving smile I remembered from childhood. How did you manage this? She asked, glancing around. I don't know, maybe just my love for you and my guilt, I sighed, lowering my head. Don't blame yourself, none of this is your fault. It was meant to happen. If my fate was to die in your world, it would have happened under any circumstances. In our world? Yes, there are many lines of life. And you remember me in yours. Kira simply smiled, and that was more than enough for me. I realized that she remembered everything. That alone was all I needed. And before I could recover from her words, her gaze suddenly changed and grew serious, even a little anxious. She looked at me as if she were rushing to say something terribly important before time ran out. I'm not quite the same as you remember me. You must understand I am not from your world. In my life, everything unfolded differently. There, I made a choice that cost me the most precious thing in my life, and now it's your turn to make your choice. What choice, Kira? What am I supposed to do? How do I know which choice is the right one? Remember, the time under this lantern is limited. We only have a few minutes while the light holds the boundary between worlds. Don't let fear and grief guide your choice. Those were the last words Kira managed to say to me. The light slowly lost its strength, dimming away. Yet even as it almost vanished, our eyes remained locked together, holding on until the very last moment. I stood there, breathless, trying to memorize every detail, the gentleness of her smile, the warmth of her eyes. Every movement as if it were my final chance to preserve her image within me forever. As soon as the lantern fully went out, I collapsed to my knees and wept bitterly. Tears streamed down my cheeks, unstoppable. I sat there in the middle of the empty street, hugging my knees, feeling my heart tighten with pain and loneliness. I rose from the cold rain-soaked cobblestones. My body trembled from the chill, and my heart kept pounding wildly in a rhythm I could not calm. Slowly, I walked home, and in my head, my sister's words kept circling. What choice awaits me? What am I supposed to do? I muttered under my breath the entire way. Entering my room, I collapsed, exhausted, onto the bed. My body was drained, and my mind found no peace. A storm of emotions raged inside me, fear, sorrow, despair, and even joy from seeing Kira again, all tangled into a single knot I wasn't sure I could ever unravel. But one thing I knew for certain now, everything depended only on me. I had to return to the lantern once more, to truly understand what lay ahead and what choice my sister was warning me about. I closed my eyes and allowed myself a moment's rest. I listened to my heart which, though still restless, finally began to slow. My body grew heavy, as if sinking through the mattress, swallowed by the soft pillow and blanket. Thoughts still swirled in my head, but less frantically now. They grew slower, more distant. Warmth spread through my body. I inhaled deeply, filling my lungs, and felt sleep fully embrace me. I slowly opened my eyes. For a moment, I thought it had all been just a dream, but when I turned my head toward the chair by my bed, I saw my clothes still damp from last night's encounter. No, not a dream, I whispered to myself. My body felt as if I had woken from a heavy hangover, utterly weak, my head splitting with pain, my thoughts clouded and tangled. Every movement, even the smallest, felt unbearably difficult, as though my arms and legs had turned to stone. I barely managed to sit up, feeling the pulse in my temples pounding even louder. Light pierced through the curtains into my room, staining my eyes, and I tried with all my strength to turn away from it. Come on, Diana, get a grip. There's no time to wallow, I murmured, trying to summon a bit of courage. I rose from the bed, put open the curtains, and let bright light flood into my room. From the drawer beside the bed, I began searching for any kind of pill for my headache. The drawer was cluttered with useless junk, empty pillboxes, a phone charger, candy wrappers, matches, loose change, everything but what I needed. Oh, found it, I said with relief. I walked into the kitchen, my body unbearably heavy, each movement costing me great effort. I filled a large glass with ice-cold water to wash down the pill, and with each gulp I felt the chill revive me just a little. I turned on the kettle, and its quiet has filled the room. breaking the heavy silence. While the water heated, I sat down at the table, leaning my elbows on the surface and rested my head in my hands. My thoughts still spun in chaos. I recalled the night under the lantern, Kara's words, her warning. I inhaled deeply, then exhaled sharply, trying to pull myself together. Every sound, the whistle of the kettle, the soft clink of glass, even the beat of my own heart blended with the headache, each sensation sharp and overwhelming. But only one thing concerned me now: how to return to the lantern as soon as possible. The pill had already begun to work. Slowly sipping my coffee, I started to draft a plan of what I would say, what I would ask beneath the lantern's light. Then suddenly, the thought struck me. There had to be some record of this lantern in our city archives. I need to go there, I muttered, taking the last sip of coffee. Later that evening, 11:52 p.m. And so I was walking toward the lantern again. Every step echoed against the empty asphalt, and in my mind there was only one thought: to find answers to my questions, to understand what Kira meant, and why all of this was happening to us. As I drew closer, from the shadows, a lamplighter suddenly appeared and nearly jumped out of my skin, my heart leaping out of my chest. "Good evening," he said with a strange smile. "Good evening, and you? How are you here?" "Didn't expect me?" "Honestly, I was waiting for you." "Really?" "Yes, I'm sorry that I ran away from you at our last meeting. I was a little scared." "I understand. It's all right." The lamplighter stepped forward, and the warm light from the lantern danced across his face, making his features more defined and clear. His gaze was calm and attentive. I had the sense that he could see not only me, but my thoughts, fears, and doubts as well. "I saw my sister here. You're right. I felt her under the lantern's light." "I thought so, but be careful." "Why? What do you mean?" "Remember, the lantern gives not only a meeting and a chance to change things, but it also exacts a price for it." After those words, the lantern's light went out, and the lamplighter disappeared with it. I understood that now everything would begin. I was ready, so I immediately raised my hands and covered my eyes with my palms. But even through my closed eyelids, a flash broke through. A blinding burst of light erupted around me, making my heart race. I slowly opened my eyes. What I saw in the lantern's light made my body freeze. "This can't be," I muttered under my breath. In the lantern's glow, hard as it was to believe, there stood me, my double. Her figure resembled mine: facial features, gaze, hair. But at the same time, there was something different, a sense that she was older than me. No, not just older, she seemed to have lived more in this life than I had. She wore clothing I had never worn: a white dress with straps, long earrings dangling from her ears, lips painted with red lipstick. I would never in a million years have dressed like that. She looked at me as if she knew all my thoughts in advance. She was simply waiting for me to speak first. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I am you, and you are me." "Where is my sister? Why are you here?" "I came to warn you." "Warn me about what?" "I know what you want to do, but the price is very high." "I don't understand." "You want to bring Kara back, but for that, something must be sacrificed. You would change the course of events, and that has its own price and consequences." "For my sister, I am ready for anything." "Are you sure?" "Yes," I replied firmly. "Pain speaks through you, and pain is deceiving. You will lose something that weighs more than you can imagine." "If you know the price, then tell me." "Memory. The price of her return is her memory of you. She will come back, but she won't know who you are. You will be strangers to each other. In our reality, she will also forget you. You will never be family to each other again. She will have her own life. Her own family, perhaps a sister or a brother. No, this cannot be. Then what is the point of this cursed lantern? That is the price. You can leave everything as it is, preserving the memory of you in your heart, or give it all to see her alive, but never be family to her. A lump rose in my throat, and my eyes filled with tears. So I have to either lose her forever or find her, but lose her again? And this choice will determine what happens to you next. What do you mean by next for me? The double only had time to glance at me. Then suddenly, the lantern went out, silence fell like a heavy weight, and even the wind seemed to vanish. I was left alone, on the cold, empty street. I had come seeking answers, and yet I had even more questions. I walked slowly, each step echoing in the void. The road home seemed endless. Thoughts overwhelmed my mind. Every word spoken by my double echoed repeatedly in my memory. I imagined Kira returning, standing beside me, breathing, laughing. I imagined our life returning to how it was before, but in reality she would simply forget me. I opened the door and stepped inside. The silence of the house greeted me as heavily as the darkness of the street. I walked slowly to my room, not even turning on the hallway light. I immediately approached my desk and collapsed into the chair. My gaze fell on the framed photo. Two smiling sisters, still children, hugging tightly as if afraid to lose one another. I stood up and began pacing the room. I had no strength to stay in one place. My mind kept repeating my double's final words. This choice will determine what happens to you next. What did she mean? What will happen to me? I wandered the room, unable to find peace. The thought that my sister would not remember me made my heart race as if it might burst from my chest. I fell onto the bed, wrapped myself in a blanket, and held a pillow to my chest. Tears slowly rolled down my cheeks. But even through exhaustion and despair, I could not shake the feeling that the double was still here, invisible, nearby, waiting for my choice. But why not my sister? Why did my double appear to me under the lantern? And where did the lamplighter go? Why didn't he appear again when the lantern went out? I muttered under my breath. I had so many questions and, unfortunately, so few answers. Tomorrow will be a hard day. I need to rest, I said, and my eyes closed involuntarily as I fell asleep. I woke up without an alarm, something unreal to me. I slowly rose from the bed and sat down. My first thought: today is an important day. I would even say decisive. Before me lay a twist that could change my life. Thoughts of the lantern lingered in my mind all day. I alternated between wanting evening to come quickly to deal with it, and fearing it like fire. Finally, evening arrived. I was fully ready to meet under the lantern. I had made my choice. Now it only remained to reinforce it with action. I walked along the familiar street, so familiar that I could traverse it with my eyes closed. From afar, the lantern's light beckoned me, urging me to come closer. My heart pounded again, but my steps were confident. I knew exactly why I was going there. As I approached, the lantern flared brighter than ever. Its glow enveloped me from head to toe, as if asking, "Are you ready?" Inside me, two desires battled: hold on to precious memories or see Kira again, even though she would not remember me. But in that moment, I realized love does not vanish even when memory is lost. Love is more than words or faces. I inhaled deeply and stepped toward the light. My double was already waiting there. Have you made your choice? Yes. What do you choose? I choose my sister. I choose her future. She is too young to simply disappear from this world. I want her to enjoy life, to savor every minute in this beautiful world even without me. The double nodded quietly, as if agreeing with my choice. Just remember you give her life back, but you vanish from it forever. That is the price. I accepted. The double quietly disappeared, along with the lantern's glow, leaving me alone on the street. Several months later, I rushed to work, late for the first time in a long while. At the traffic light, I saw a girl crossing from the other side. Her hair swayed softly with her steps, and her smile lit up the street. My heart tightened unbearably. This was Kira, my sister. She laughed while speaking on the phone. She was happy, light, as if the whole world belonged only to her. I paused for a few seconds, just watching her. She didn't notice me at all, running past, but it didn't hurt. On the contrary, it filled me with warmth. I was glad she was alive. I smiled through tears, understanding that true love does not demand reciprocity. It lives in actions, in choice, in care, even if those you love do not remember you. The end.